Just a little bit of background. I've been a senior designer, been a manager. So I've been an individual contributor and a manager throughout my career. I've been in information architecture. I've been a UI designer. I am now kind of more what I would say a UX facilitator more than anything. So I actually conduct UX and AI design workshops often. So these are where you use the design thinking methodology. I've been lucky enough to work for some obviously very large corporations, as you can see, and happened to just start out at the right time in the industry in corporate UX, which was in the early 2010s and tens when there was really kind of a need for that. Really, where us as UX designers, what our job is, we're problem solvers. Our job is to get to root cause, right? So what happens often with, I would say, product teams or teams that are just building things based on pure technology is they see the shiny penny and they're like, oh, we've got this new technology, we're just going to build it. So then what kind of happens at that point? They build it, it's out there, they get some users, they get what's called the Gartner hype cycle. Everybody's all excited about it. They start using it. And then they have the trough of disillusion, right? Because it doesn't work as expected as the user intended it to, right? So then what happens when the users go through the trough of disillusion, right? Users drop off. So people, again, on the bandwagon, people drop off because it doesn't fit the user's mental model or it doesn't solve the user's needs at that point, right? That's where UX designers come in a lot at that point. It's our job to drive root cause, right? To understand what root cause is. So providing context is important. So prompts with background information can guide the assistant to understand the query better. So give it an example, for example. Our conversion rates in checkout is currently 0.065%. We believe it is low to the industry benchmarks. As crazy as it is, that was one of my first projects at Target, right? It wasn't that percentage, I just made that percentage up, but we believed we had a lower conversion rate than Amazon and Walmart, right? And it was my job as a UX information architect to figure out why our experiences in cart and checkout weren't performing properly. So I had to use research. This was back in 2013. I didn't have any AI tools. So if I would have had this prompt, right, maybe I could have easily set up some research studies to make it a lot easier. Like I work in spaces, it wouldn't matter whether I was at Lifetime, Best Buy, IBM, or whatever it is. I'm working in these spaces. I don't know like what these subject matter experts know. So if I am working by myself, I use AI to help get me up to speed. Now, does that make me a subject matter expert? No, but if I have one question, then it leads to the next question. Then I've like, oh, now that I have had one question answered, now I have five other questions. So that's what you're going to use AI for. Think about using it for the five whys. So you ask one question, then you're like, why? Why again? And that will help you get deeper to root cause. It was amazing to me because like when I was at Target, I was redesigning cart and checkout for the native app. This was back in 2013, right? And we it it was low hanging fruit. It wasn't hard to redesign it. You could see what the problems were. I did use some user testing. We got it redesigned. It started in September. We got it ready for holiday, right? We got it all designed. We got our user testing, and it was performing well. And then my product team came to me and I said, well, what's my next project? And they're like, you're going to redesign cart again. I'm like, I just redesigned it. And they're like, no. They're like, find out where the problems are, redesign it again. If we can get even a tenth of a movement in conversion, it will mean millions and millions of dollars, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, like I got to redesign it again. Like, how am I going to redesign something that I've spent like the past 3 months, working on, right? So again, never settle for what you've designed. So first iteration. Privacy, user control. Allow the users to be able to control that. And in many states these days, there are mandates, there's government mandates and state laws that says that if a user asks for their data to be deleted, right? I worked on a project on, one of the e-commerce companies that I work for, that if a customer requests that if they have data, if we had data on them, that if they request to have it completely deleted, it was our responsibility to delete it. We had X amount of days to do it. But you as a user, if you know, messaged through the portal, there's an online page and it takes some place to find it, right? And you said, hey, I want my data, all the data that you have, all my purchase histories, everything deleted. That organization, that company is responsible for deleting all your information. So give users control over the data. That's the ethics of it. We had some other marketing consultant that came in and said, this color palette is like way too bright for this industry. Like it looks like the Stanley tools of the birding industry. And then so the owner of the company that I was working with in building the brand says he's like, this is what my marketing consultant said to me. I said, well, you're a small brand, right? And you've got end caps that are, in Home Depot and Lowe's. Think about all the products that are in Home Depot and Lowe's. I said, do you want pastel colors on an end cap, or do you want to be the Stanley Tools that stands out in the end cap? He's like, I think I'll be the Stanley Tools on the end cap, right? So thinking about how and what the purpose is and maybe where that business is at the time are all super important things in brand color. Have a good evening, and I'll look forward to seeing you on Wednesday.